So we thought we'd focus on it's almost a topic we thought, gosh, is there anything more to be said about the role of the line manager because I'm the people manager, because it's come up so much. And there's been so many insights over the last 3 days, but a couple of days. But I guess 3 things that really come to mind at this stage are, one is the business case and indeed the societal case for a great employee experience is compelling. It really is. And I hope it is after these 2 days. If it's not, we're in trouble. But and then secondly, the role of the people manager is critical to that employee experience. And indeed, the expectations on the people manager's role is probably at an all-time high, perhaps. I think that came through. And a third, I suppose, fact came through, that the sense, and Sara shared that data earlier on about, the most overwhelmed population in the organization is that people manager. So there's some things here not quite adding up. I just a couple of questions. And before we get on to some tactics and ideas, just really maybe to reflect on that first point is, have you seen or do you expect to see the role of the people manager changing? What do we expect the role of the line manager to be? Because it feels like we're just adding more and more, even though there's some great tools and technology to help. Where do you see this going in terms of the role of the line manager in order to be able to provide compelling EX? Do you want to kick off, Elena?
Yeah, I can do it. Well, it's a bit what I said in the beginning. I think that it's more, what kind of approach the line managers will have, to leadership. And as I said before, we now work very much with this human leadership framework, because as you said, Kevin, we had this discussion before, and you said that you love how Facebook defined, the manager role is those who care, So basically for us, it's a bit the same. So it is people who are able, to be authentic, so sort of like show themselves as they are. So don't put, glasses on in the beginning of the day and become somebody else, but you take yourself to work. And then because you are like this, you can see your people. So then empathetic, is the second quality. And the empathetic, it doesn't mean that you need to be personal. You need to feel what your employees are feeling, but you need to be able to understand. And you need to be able also to be adaptable, which means that if a person wants to be personal with you and speak about personal life, then you do that. If the person doesn't want to do it, you don't do it. But you are there, you listen, you understand. And this is super, super interesting, because this means that not everybody can become managers, and not everybody or leaders want to be. Exactly. Some people think it's super scary, So if we are concrete, so I think that for us, the biggest change was that we changed the promotion criteria before. So before, in Oriflame, actually, for very, very many years, if you achieve a certain level, then in order for you to advance, then you have to become a manager with the team. So we actually removed it quite some years ago, and then we really enhanced the expert track. And it's okay to be an expert, and an expert can become a manager and even a director, and so on. And I think this is very important, because people are different, people have different needs, and you shouldn't be forced, to be a leader if you are sort of not feeling for it.
Yeah. Thank you, Elena. So how do you see that role of the manager evolving?
So you got me thinking a lot in these past 2 days around that as well. I feel I'm holding the people managers probably a bit too accountable on their people managers role, and maybe I should give them some space or think about how we could create some space for them. Yeah. So really thinking, I think it will really be a reflection that we will have in the coming months around how do we start to anticipate also this increasing workload and how to make it sustainable in the long run. We are about to announce a reorganization. And actually, we keep saying that we rely a lot on people managers in this time of transition to support their employees. So as you were mentioning, listening. So listening is something that we are really asking them. It's capabilities that we expect them to increase. At the same time, if they need to create the space for the employees to open up and to share And for them to be ready also to listen and to create this dialogue, what can we take out from them so that they can do that comfortably? And I don't have the answer today, but certainly will need to be an area that we will need to further explore.
Feels like something has to give, right? So what can we take off them? Yeah, exactly, in order.
So I think it's part of the evolution of what we mean by people managers in organizations. So we've seen sort of the impact of COVID and the pandemic of creating like new models of the hybrid manager or whatever we're calling it in the market now, of how people are able to manage and lead teams both in the physical environment as well as the virtual environment with the same type of caliber of and weight of their style. We've also talked about proximity bias, throwing all of these different challenges that line managers are not used to. So there's different type of challenges that we're throwing to line managers. So to your point, we also need to simplify part of their jobs. So how do we make things simple and intuitive? How do we make line management a bit easier to handle within the day-to-day life? So if you're looking into the environment, I think that what you've shared in the morning on sort of the human leadership from Ghana is a great example of where we're heading. I would add compassion in there. I would add things of inclusion and belonging in that to just fully scope out what we mean by management and leadership. But that stems back in going back into our organization and asking, what is our leadership and management philosophy here? Like, what are we saying yes to and we're empowering? What are we allowing to happen? And what we're going to say strictly no, this is not permissible as a line manager behavior within our organization. Because through employee experience, we're starting to look more and more into the impact of that behavior and the impact of that style, which is something that we haven't done so far. So we've looked at management and the style of it, and now we're looking at what is the impact that it's having on each individual within the organization. Do you feel included? Do you feel valued? Do you feel a manager listens to you? Do you think your manager creates the environment for you to have colleagues and friends at work? So those are the type of questions.
Really, really useful. So it feels like we're, having to rethink maybe the role of the line manager and the people manager, what we expect. We were sharing some stories too about, if you think of the role of the CEO, maybe we make assumptions about what should be contained in the job description of a people manager now. The CEO, the support role of a COO, actually that's a relatively recent, phenomenon, and the chief of staff role is even more recent. And these were put in place because of the, unsustainability of the, the full range of responsibilities to see. So maybe we could learn something, Thomas, from the military. We have captain, we have lieutenant, we've sergeant. Maybe there's things we can delegate to a deputy people manager or something like that to create a leadership succession role.
As scary as that sounds, borrowing management and leadership style from the military.
I know, well.
But I actually would like to pick up on it because, it's interesting about our roles, like employee experience or HR organization. Because, when you go into the employee experience design, you have this urge, as a lot of speakers said before, to find solutions immediately to the touch points, that you basically identify. And as we've seen today, every single touch point, it's not the HR who's actually, always sort of quite often responsible for, but it's either, either experts or managers actually in everyday life. And it's really a cross-functional, cross-company cooperation. So I would actually say that, rather than doing the prescriptive mothership, from our standpoint, I think it's very, very important to empower the managers to take, rational decisions by themselves, actually to give them the skills of deciding by themselves. Because if they really will be in conversations with their people, then they will go through a lot of situations, human situations, that they will need to take a stand on. And, as long as they have a compass, I think they're pretty capable, and that's how they will develop. So what can we do then? But then we can unload on other things. And then we in Oriflame, we usually speak about European doctors. I don't know how it is in Holland, but in Sweden, when you come to the doctor, you have 10 minutes if you're lucky. And then 8 minutes of those, the doctor will look at the computer, filling in, the questions about you. And then you are really lucky if the doctor will look at you. Otherwise, they will say, it will pass, by. Yeah. And basically, so we don't want that experience for our employees in the conversation with managers. So we basically are trying now to minimize the templating. We are trying to automatize everything that we can do so that managers don't need to deal with it, We are trying to deploy the CRM from the sales and marketing system so that, all the general emails, for example, when we do onboarding, they are originally, already programmed there, so I don't need to spend my time. And my time, I actually spend looking in your eyes, talking to you, understanding who you are. And, I have a personal hero, and it's Barbara Corcoran, one of the Shark Tank people. And then she says that her success, and she's like one of the biggest investor in the US, was determined by her servicing her people. That was her job. Of course, she has business result, but through servicing her people, through trying to understand each and every individual and what drives them, she could give them this. And it doesn't mean one size fits all, but it doesn't also mean that she is totally biased, and discriminative. And we need to have daring to distinguish those things, because seeing an individual and being discriminative is completely different things, and then they live on different planets. So I think that is sort of like, the path of the future, that we offload them on communication, for example. We can give them scenarios, already made tests. We can send CRMs for them, repeated information. But the talk, the decision, the handling of a human being, they need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that we've heard that before in other contexts too, but the servant leadership is really the only option, because there's no way a manager, a leader can absorb and be the expert and do all of this. So you started off the day talking about unicorns, It feels like that. Sometimes we expect that. Just to finish, perhaps, maybe get some thoughts at the more tactical level. So again, just to give folks something, concrete to take away in dealing with and you've mentioned a couple of them already, but is there one or two things that you've done that you feel, yes, actually we have really helped to support as HR? We've done something to really move the needle in terms of supporting them to provide, number one, to provide a great EX, but also to reduce the noise or reduce the expectation on them from an administrator's admin perspective. Do you want to kick off that one?
So one of the things that we've started doing is not just design personas for general employees. So we started separating what is the manager section for this employee persona. So we started looking at, as a people manager within that group of employees, what are my unique needs, wants, pain points? What am I struggling to deliver? What do I find easy to deliver? And what is my preference of how do I access information? Where do I find it? How do I deliver it to my team? So we started creating that. So whenever we're designing experiences, we're looking at the lens of employee, sort of the person going through that experience. We're looking at the lens of the line managers, so supporting and delivering potentially up to 80% of those touch points. So if 80% of that experience is dependent on line managers, you need to design for it. And then you're looking at the other two. So that's the other is sort of other functional teams, whether it's HR, finance, workplace, and anything else, and then technology in between to support with that. So you're designing that, and you're keeping them in every design that you're delivering. What we've done for line managers, and we'll continue doing for the next 2 years, is we're creating a manager hub that will allow them to have information that is relevant to them. So if I'm a line manager and I have direct reports in Austria, UK, and the Philippines, I will see information that's relevant to those countries where my people are, as well as to the country that I'm located in. So all of that was global information, and then was localized into those specific scenarios. There's no point in them seeing 48 countries that we operate in. There's point of them seeing specifically what's unique for the people that they're working with. We started testing and prototyping nudges. So how do we create nudges for people to prompt them into the right type of things? So we're saying it's time for one-to-ones. Think of these top 3 questions that you should address to your employees. So we're already creating everything almost like, as a line manager, I don't have time to start looking for guidance, I've printed something, I can't find it, and anything else. How do I find all of that information serves to me at the right moment in time that will allow me to have those conversations with people? in the future, and what we're doing at the moment is we're looking at the employee behavior, and we're trying to determine what are the type of interventions and connections we're creating between the employee and the line manager. Whether that is promotion, whether that is finishing the onboarding, whether it's the call that the line manager does to the person before they even start onboarding, so the week before they join, to say, hey, am I still expecting you to start next week? We're really excited to have you. What will happen next week is you're going to see me at the door at 9 a.m. and all of those things. So that, as a moment in that matters, is one of the crucial things that determines the success of onboarding,
Right.
surprisingly.
Amazing. Yeah, just that simple, but being supported by nudging technology, enabling the hub, etc., etc. So technology definitely is playing a role to kind of help here. Sara, I know you've done some interesting things again to support, to get HR out of the way, basically, but to support them at the same time.
Absolutely. So what we've been trying to do, it's really, as we were saying, empowering the managers in their choices. So equipping them, providing them with some tools that they could then deploy within their teams as they best see fit. To give you one example that also supports our cultural transformation, we created some cultural talks. So it's basically we deliver them, we share with them videos that are 2-3 minutes long. So it's actually short. And we ask them to create an opportunity within their team meetings, which means also without creating additional meetings, to watch the video with their team members and then to discuss what are the insights, what are the learnings, and what, based on the different topics, and topics can go through psychological safety, taking risk, recognition, what, based on then the learnings that they get, they would want to start to put into action. One action, let's keep it simple because we have action plans from everything that we do. So one action that adds up to their team contract and that they will all commit to act on. So this is one example. In terms also, we discussed before the listening strategy. So what we also want to do, it's always in the follow-up of the surveys, it's making sure that it really happens at the lowest possible managerial level, where really there is the close contact with the employees and the action and there can be really seen and they can really be accountable together with their team of implementing the changes.
Really, really practical things. I love that culture one about just it's basically devolving cultural conversations, and you don't even know they're happening, and you don't even need to deploy anything.
We don't monitor. We just offer, let's say, the package of it. You said it this morning. We package it and then we deliver it to them, and then it is their accountability, but also they have the flexibility to do it and to tailor made based on their needs, the challenges of their team, and the specific environment and team dynamics.
Nice. But at the same time, you're ensuring that conversations are happening on the values or the priorities that you want to have. So you're gently making it happen. Last word to you.
Yeah, well, I can tell you like the last things that we are piloting now. So I can't say that it's everywhere, but we are piloting in different locations. I can tell you about some Stockholm initiatives, for example. So we decided, based on, again, our survey results, as I told you, first of all, mental and physical well-being went a bit down, as I mentioned already. And then here it's a bit difficult because, again, not everybody are ready to talk about it with the manager. And we were thinking, okay, should we really force people now? Okay, go and have a conversation with everybody about it, or how should we do it? So we actually decided to take off the emotional load, by doing all employee initiatives. So we actually offer wellness products, in Oriflame. And then the whole idea about Oriflame, it always have been about well-being in your life, And we usually, when we speak about our products, we say that we offer emotional well-being, social well-being, financial well-being, sustainable well-being, because we're a Swedish company. It's a lot of volunteering going on, as you've heard, and a lot of initiatives for saving the planet. And then also we have, what did I forget now? I think that's those. So we actually decided to deploy it for employees now. So we now have, spurts, like 2-month testing periods, where we first offer them a psychology session, call it emotional well-being sessions, where psychologists are there, as I told you, and you can book times with them on a personalized basis, which means we are offloading the managers and HR department from the talk, about your inner personal things, which people appreciate a lot. Yesterday we launched the physical well-being then initiative, exactly the same approach on the individual basis. We actually have a gym in the office. It's a really cool one. And nobody goes there because we have 80% of females working in the cosmetics companies and they are afraid of gyms, and I mean, I was there as well, so I completely relate. So we actually got the personal trainer in, and then again, 8 hours a week, he is available there. And it's quite a luxury thing, I mean, it's not a lot of people would spend on a personal trainer. So he is there. And it's called, Conquer Your Gym Fear and Get Fit, and get your personal plan. And the hours were gone within first 2 hours after sending an email. So people love it. And it's a pilot until June. Then we will see what we do. In the plans, we have a dietist because we have them employed. So we will have individual sessions after summer. We have cooperations with banks, of course, because we have bondholders. They promised us to give us people to have a family budgeting session on an individual level with employees. We're going to do, every employee in Oriflame has one volunteering day paid a year. So we are going to do volunteering activities by teams that we will help with. And then social, we have a lot of parties. This is our unique selling point. So basically, this is the circle. So here we offload it, which means that managers now, they can focus on workload, on task definition, on building other sort of relationships rather than going and solving personal issues, if they're uncomfortable. At the same time, we have now an all-company training that is called heart-to-heart mindset training, where we try to get them managers away from evaluation talk. I see the fault with you, to the positive mindset opportunity talk. Okay, this person is like this. What's the best place for this person? What can we do with this? How can I support? How can we do the best? So that this is like 2 parallel things we are doing, and let's see how it works. But so far, so good.
No, I really like that. It seems like we're trying to spread the accountability for the employee experience as much off the shoulders as we can. And again, HR playing that role of creating that ecosystem, using partners in this case, to deliver those experiences. So look, I hope that was useful. It was just an idea to talk a little bit about where we're heading in terms of the role of the people manager itself, and then also some tactical things, and of which I know we've got plenty over the last couple of days as well. So I think we'll finish up there if that's okay. And thank you to these folks who've given us the time.